little background, I guess. So the last Star Wars movie to be released in theaters, like for a while, was Revenge of the Sith, right?
Yeah.
May 19th, 2005. But between that and the next one, there were a bunch of shows and stuff. There was the Clone Wars.
There was Rebels.
There was also the Clone Wars movie from 2008, which is absolutely dreadful.
And before these movies came out, the studio, LucasArts and Lucasfilms was acquired by Disney.
Yeah, in 2012, Disney bought the rights to Star Wars because George Lucas sold them. Now, when I first heard about the decision, I was not very happy, I'll be honest.
I was a bit skeptical when they said that they were going to make new Star Wars.
I heard Disney bought Star Wars, and I'm like, what?
And the results were mixed, in my opinion.
Oh, yes, definitely. So the thing I didn't realize when Episode 7 was announced, I didn't realize they were gonna make more than that.
Yeah.
Like I guess I knew there was gonna be like a spin-off, but I didn't realize there was gonna be 7, 8, and 9. I thought it was just gonna be like 7 or something.
See, I expected there to be a whole other
trilogy. But then I
trilogy.
watched the movie, and then at the end of it, I'm like, oh.
See, I always expected another trilogy. I just didn't expect everything else. I didn't expect the spin-offs.
Pay extremely close attention to all of the news about these movies. Like, I obviously read about them, right? I know some of the information about it, but I'm not just waiting every single day just for a new update or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really hyped to see the new one because I'd never seen a Star Wars film.
Yeah, this is the first one I saw in theaters.
I thought you saw
the first new one I saw.
The first new one, yeah, because you saw Phantom Menace in 3D.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure the 3D looked great on that, from what I heard. And funny enough, I did see Force Awakens in 3D.
Really?
Yeah. My dad was not happy about that, though. Because he didn't know he bought 3D tickets.
I actually went and saw it on the night it premiered, which was awesome.
Wait. So with the midnight showing of it?
Yeah.
On the 17th? Oh,
yeah. Which was really good because a kid in my class came in and spoiled the movie for everyone else because he also went and saw it on the night it premiered. I'm so
sorry. Yeah. My sister actually had part of it spoiled for her too. Somebody had seen it before we did. We didn't see it on opening day. We saw it on probably the 20th or something, maybe a little after that
weekend.
But we did not see it opening day. It wasn't that long after opening day because it was crowded. You could not find a parking spot, and the lines were ridiculous. They were ridiculously long.
They were. On opening night, it was especially bad.
I can't even imagine how bad it would have been when Phantom Menace came out.
Oh yeah,
because of all the hype around that, And the marketing was tons of marketing, because this was the first new Star Wars film, live action one anyway, that's supposed to be part of the actual series, to be released in a while.
And I was very hyped for it, and I remember
I was too.
I remember leaving the theater actually blown away by the movie, just because I still had that much hype.
It was, I would say, if I was gonna rank favorite movie theater experiences, that was definitely up there. I had a lot of fun there. Just being able to see a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and then hear the music.
That
people are clapping.
Awesome. Oh yeah,
people are clapping at that. So I was very hyped for it. I loved it when I first saw it, but when I rewatched it later, there's just no way you're ever gonna relive that first time,
exactly.
Seeing it, And honestly, I've probably enjoyed the theater experiences more than I've enjoyed the actual movies.
Yeah.
Because of the hype surrounding them and people dressing in costumes and doing lightsaber duels in front of the screen. Just toy lightsabers.
And thinking back on this movie now, I still think it's a good movie. I just don't think it was as mind-blowing as it was when I saw it in the theater.
Exactly. I think a lot of people got caught up in the hype. And something I noticed is it started getting kind of a backlash about around when the Rogue One came out. People were saying it was too much like the original film. The plot was like too derivative and stuff, and there was kind of this, and especially now, after Last Jedi came out, there's kind of an anti Force Awakens kind of thing going on with a lot of people. It's kind of just become popular for fans to hate on it. Some, I'm not saying all fans do, but I certainly don't. I think it's an entertaining film, but I don't think it's a great film.
Yeah, it's. It's a good film, but it has a lot of things that I think are holding it back. Mostly due to its similarity to A New Hope.
I would say, that is... So, a funny story, though, about when I saw it in the theater, you see Luke Skywalker at the end of the film for a little bit.
Like 20 seconds.
And then the movie ended, and then there was this one little kid in the audience who asked his dad, "Who was that?"
This is probably that kid's first Star Wars movie that he ever saw.
Probably either that or they saw the other ones but don't recognize him because he's got a beard in this one. Yeah. Like I said, though, I would say, the theater experience was definitely a lot more fun than the actual movie, and just, seeing all the, hype around it and stuff, being a part of it for once, rather than just watching it, at home or something. I think it's, like I said, I think it's entertaining, it's a fairly decent movie, but I don't think it's, spectacular by any means, but So, some of my positives, it's kind of minor, but Simon Pegg and Daniel Craig are both in the film. Cameos.
I didn't realize that Daniel Craig was in it until after the movie came out and I saw news articles about it.
Same,
I'm oh, hey.
I had heard prior to that Daniel Craig's in the film, but I didn't know who it was. But then when I read about it later, I'm like, oh, that actually makes sense.
Yeah, because when you actually hear him in the movie, you can actually hear
rewatching
Daniel
the scene
Craig.
And actually listening to it, I can tell.
Yeah.
Simon Pegg, though, is, unrecognizable. You would never guess that it was him, ever. He's, the guy selling Rey the portions.
Yeah.
On Jakku, I think,
Yeah, Jakku.
Yeah, Jakku, one thing that does make this one entertaining for me is Han Solo.
Because he's even grumpier than he was in the original
grumpy
trilogy,
old
and it's
man,
really funny most of the time.
And Han Solo, Harrison Ford is he's got that old pro quality to him, and he's very sarcastic. He's very funny. Still does well in the action scenes, I think, It's nice seeing him with Chewbacca. When he got on, when you, first see him, on the Millennium Falcon, with Chewbacca, and he says, "Chewie, we're home," that is just great. I smile every time I see that. And I like the stuff on the Millennium Falcon with those, weird, creatures they have stowed away on it, and they're killing a bunch of guys.
And then
that's a fun scene.
This movie also introduced this trilogy's cool unused character, which was Captain Phasma.
Captain Phasma, the Boba Fett and Darth Maul
exactly
newer trilogy. Every trilogy has to have a Boba Fett character.
Yeah, one character that's just super cool that they don't use.
Yeah, exactly.
She had more of a purpose in The Last Jedi, but not much.
Not really.
She really only shows up at the very end.
Exactly.
And then
that's
dies.
One scene. She's in one scene, and So I think Boba Fett and Darth Maul both got more screen time than she does. Less lines, though.
Yeah.
Less lines.
She had a surprising amount of lines for how little screen time she had.
I do think the visuals are good. It's a very like good looking film in terms
Oh,
of
yeah.
like special effects
I
and
actually
cinematography.
I love how lightsabers look in this film, especially when they're fighting in the wind and when it's snowing outside.
That scene does look pretty good. I will say that. But you can tell a little bit that it is a J.J. Abrams film. Like, like people make fun of like the lens flares and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the look of it. But I don't think he was a bad choice to direct it. I didn't mind his Star Trek films. I think he's a decent director.
Yeah.
Keep him away from the script though. But it's a good looking film. I think. Not the best looking of the newer films, but very
Yeah.
I can see why it was nominated for like best visual effects and stuff.
See, that is something that I do think that the entire so far the 2 sequels do very well. Is they're all shot incredibly well.
Cinematography, excellent. And it was they definitely used like there were CGI in it, but it was like it was more a combination of visual, of CGI and of practical effects, to the point where honestly I couldn't really tell which was which at some points. Aside from like a few CGI effects, which are pretty obvious.
I think a couple of them are practical effects that they
enhance with. Because I know there's like a few
digital
creatures that are CGI, like the big red creatures that Han Solo has.
The Rathars.
The Rathars, yeah, that's right.
I kind of seen so much. Actually,
I kind of would have liked to have seen more of that.
Yeah,
honestly, because I just like that Han Solo's like kind of getting his comeuppance. These guys are coming like sort of like in, with him and Jabba. I think the action scenes, for the most part, are decent. The Millennium Falcon stuff I think looks good. I kind of would have liked maybe more lightsaber stuff. I do think now the opening I think is probably the best part of the film. The opening is great.
It's a fantastic opening
because it's very intense because you get to see stormtroopers raiding the village, and it's like, which you didn't really get to see in the original.
No, it was alluded to. You saw the aftermath, but you didn't see it outright.
Yeah. Whereas in this one, you see that they're using flamethrowers and stuff. It's a really cool opening. Kind of wish Max von Sydow got more to do, but
and then Kylo Ren when he stops the blaster bolt, that was actually awesome.
Ren's entrance is pretty cool. I will give it, like where he stops the like blaster bolts with his hand. That was pretty cool. Although his voice, like when he has the mask on, it sounds a lot like Alan Rickman.
It kind of does,
doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, okay, yeah, the plot is sort of derivative.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. But at the same time, like, that isn't always bad because, you're doing, like, because it's Star Wars.
See, I think that this plot...
thing, I mean, you follow the basis for Star Wars. I mean, you can't go wrong on everything.
See, I think that if the next movie had done a better job of following this up, I would be a lot more fine with how derivative it feels.
Yeah.
But
I agree with
the next movie just feels like it throws this one completely out almost.
Yeah. It basically like threw that one out, set it on fire, and then stomped on it.
Yeah. Well, we'll get more to that one soon. We'll get to that.
Yeah. They'll have to like do like a Highlander 2 Renegade edition with the next one if they want to save the series. But I actually I do like some of the main characters in this. I like Finn. I like how he was part of the First Order. He's a stormtrooper, but he defects from them. He like rebels against them, but at the same time he's not like part of the resistance.
Yeah.
He lies to
He's just trying to get away and survive.
Yeah. So I thought his character in this one was interesting.
Yep.
Poe I thought was a interesting character, and Oscar Isaac I thought was good in the film.
Yeah.
I was hoping maybe he would become sort of like Han Solo in the next one, maybe, where, where he's kind of like sarcastic and stuff.
He didn't really get a whole lot to do.
But
in
he
The Last
doesn't
Jedi,
do much
really.
in it. He doesn't. I thought Rey was kind of interesting too. Like I like how you're first introduced to her. She's just kind of scavenging around ship parts and stuff.
And I do like the mystery that they build with her and her parents, not knowing who they are.
And the beginning of the stuff with Rey at the beginning, it kind of feels like something out of like Mad Max or something a little bit. And the planet she's on looks a lot like Mad Max, especially the Road Warrior.
Desolate Australia.
I thought it was a pretty good like setup for like these characters, because I do think that is one thing that raised it above just being derivative is the characters they introduced. I do think are pretty interesting.
They are.
You know, they were at least interesting enough for me. Maybe not all people feel that, but you know.
And then they set up Snoke to be the villain of the trilogy.
Oh yeah, Snoke.
When I first saw Snoke, I thought he was really cool. And, you know, even the more and more I saw him, I still thought he was really cool.
It looks a lot like Gollum.
He does.
Which makes sense because he's played by Andy Serkis.
Exactly.
You know. At first, you're not sure, like, is he a huge hologram, or is he
just
a
that
huge
big,
creature? Yeah, you're not sure when you first see
and
him.
when you do eventually see it, he is huge, but just not that big.
Yeah. So, getting into negatives, the plot is a little too similar.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you boil it down to some of its core elements, it's like we have to stop this giant ball that explodes.
Everybody's
planets.
made fun of Starkiller Base, you know, how it's similar to the Death Star. And it doesn't help that it's a huge, round death machine.
Yeah, with a giant hole that shoots a laser out.
The villains, I mean, Kylo Ren, I mean, the design of it isn't exactly original by this point.
And, something else about the villains.
Snoke is obviously kind of alluding to the Emperor a little bit with the hologram, although he's introduced sooner than the Emperor was, and has more screen time than the Emperor did in Empire Strikes Back. He has one scene in that film.
And then in the original...
And in this, he has, like, what, 2-3 scenes or something?
In the original trilogy, there was, like, some minor, like, you know, Nazi, like, imagery.
It's too overt in this.
Especially
with Hux.
Yep.
Hux sucks. I gotta say that. Like, I remember seeing that, and that speech he gives is so annoying and over the top, I couldn't stand it.
It's like the exact opposite of subtlety.
I think, not only do I think he's a terrible character, he might be my least favorite Star Wars character.
Really?
Yeah. He's not intimidating, he's not interesting, he's just annoying and overbearing, and they just mostly poke fun at him in these movies.
Yeah. Well, like, especially with The Last Jedi.
When you look at, like, the original films, the Imperial, like, officers and stuff, they weren't, like, overdoing it or over the top.
Exactly.
They were more cold and callous and, like, scared of Vader. Whereas in this one, he's just, like...
He talks back to everyone.
I'm the bad guy. Wahahaha.
He talks back
he's
to
Dr.
everyone.
Evil or something. It's just, Also... Mark Hamill, he gets second build.
He appears for about 30
One
seconds.
scene that's about 30 seconds. Although, Mark Hamill himself mentioned this, I mean, what greater build-up than having a whole movie where people are talking about you and then appearing at the very end. But the movie made a ton of money. It made a ton of money. It's like one of the highest grossing films of all time. Like, adjusted for inflation, I think it's still in the top 10.
That's pretty impressive.
Because it made a ton of money. Like, over $2 billion, if I remember right. Did not surpass Avatar or Titanic, but it made a lot of money. Since the only time Harrison Ford has received top billing in a Star Wars film, it makes him the first non-Jedi character to be credited first.
Really?
Because with the originals, obviously Mark Hamill was top billed. With the prequels, Liam Neeson was top billed for Phantom Menace, and then the other two, I think Ewan McGregor was top billed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Because he's the best actor.
Exactly.
Hello there. George Lucas, while maintaining that he was at peace, relinquishing his material, admitted to having mixed feelings before seeing the film, likening the experience to attending an ex-wife's wedding. And then he made, I don't know if you saw the interview, but he made that like comment about how he it was like selling his children off to white slavers. Did you see
I
that?
didn't see that interview, no.
Oh man, that people were really pissed at him for saying that.
Well, apparently he was brought on to help a lot with episode 9 to try to save the last of the sequels.
How much that will affect the last film, I don't know. But apparently Gary Oldman auditioned for the role that went to Max von Sydow. And this is the second time he was considered for a part in a Star Wars film, as he was approached to voice General Grievous in Revenge of the Sith. Before Adam Driver was cast as the villain, Michael Fassbender and Hugo Weaving were considered for the role.
Oh, I would have loved Hugo Weaving.
I would have enjoyed that too.
He couldn't have been Han Solo's son, but I still would have enjoyed that.
Mr. Anderson, I am
Mr. Solo.
the son of Han Solo. This is the third movie in history to reach the $2 billion mark after Avatar and Titanic. Of course not, just for inflation, because Gone with the Wind is still number 1. And then Star Wars, like, the original film is still in the top 10.
Yeah.
Even though it came out, like, 40-something years ago. It was nominated for 5 Oscars, musical score, visual effects, sound editing, sound mixing, and editing, which...
Yeah.
Understandable, I think. The music score, though... It's a good score, but, like, most of it's just themes from the original films.
I feel like I'd prefer the prequels.
I think the music from the prequels, yeah. Although it is nice to hear these. It was cool to hear these old themes like in the theater, you know. Which, you know, I mean, that's what these movies are designed to do. You know, it's like get great reactions in the theater, and then home video. Who cares?
Yeah.
So the next one was they announced they were doing spin-offs, and the first one that they were doing was Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which I thought the title sucked. A Star Wars story, come on. But,
that part's not so good.
The Rogue One part, you know, but it's adding a Star Wars story onto it. You know. So this one was, you know. It wasn't as hyped as the previous one, obviously.
Mainly just because it was a spin-off.
Yeah, and it was a spin-off, you know, detailing like how did the rebels get the Death Star plans, you know. So, you know, I was seeing trailers for it, and I was just going, yeah, I'm not really interested in this. So.
I actually saw it, and I got super excited.
I saw those trailers. I'm like, I wasn't that impressed with them. I didn't really care for the concept of it. Like, it just, I just wasn't as excited as the previous one. I felt also it was kind of just, I felt like they were just doing a cash grab. Like, okay, let's just do a spin-off while people are waiting for the next one.
I do feel like
I was just hoping that they would just make the next one so I could see the next one.
See, I do feel that it was a bit unnecessary, but I still think it was done very well.
Okay.
And I actually really enjoyed this movie.
We have a difference of opinion on this one. Then again, I know I'm the contrarian here with this one. When I first saw it, I was very disappointed. I gotta say, like when I saw it in the theater, I remember leaving and just being like, yeah, this didn't do it for me.
I actually went and saw it again in theater like the week after.
I saw it. I think I saw it opening day, the morning like it was released.
Yeah, because there was like no lines there for that one. Like the theater was still full, but
it was like 8 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
And I just remember sitting there in the theater and being very bored for most of it. Very bored.
I enjoyed it for the most part, I think.
There were a few scenes I liked, mostly stuff with Darth Vader, obviously, but I couldn't get invested in the main characters or the main plot. I just the only stuff that was kind of interesting was the stuff with Mads Mikkelsen.
I feel like he definitely should have gotten much more screen time.
He's very good in the film.
More Mads is always a good thing.
He's only in it for like 10 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably less than that.
See, I think they could have gotten Mads to play the main villain in that one, directed Krennic.
Oh, yes, that would have been
That
great.
would have been fantastic.
It would have been great, yeah. I do... That is one of the positives, though. I do like the guy that got to play Krennic.
Oh, yeah, Krennic is still amazing.
I do think he's good, you know. Doesn't get enough screen time, but... But yeah, I just remember seeing... When I saw this in the theater, I remember just... A lot of my enthusiasm for, like, the next one was just done. I was just thinking, like, if they make the next one like this, I'm not going to be happy. And they didn't, for better and for worse. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But I will say, okay, the best stuff in this, the stuff with Darth Vader...
Of course.
Of course. You know, I mean...
even though he has a lot of really weird one-liners.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Be careful not to choke on your own aspirations.
That line was so bad. He chokes Krennic, and yeah. I
remember actually laughing in the theater because of how out of place that line felt.
I mean, okay, Vader... It could sometimes be snarky, but I don't remember him making puns like that.
Exactly, like that was just bad.
It was very... It was... Seriously, it was like dad joke level.
Yeah, it was...
You know, that's more like something Dr. Evil would say if he had the power to choke people with the Force. I think my favorite scene in the film is the scene where Vader is killing a bunch of rebels.
Yeah, I think that scene overshadows the whole film.
I think what maybe happened with some people is they saw the movie and the first 2/3 of it, whatever, but then the last third of it, because I do think the last third of it is pretty memorable.
Yeah.
Has a lot of entertaining stuff in it, especially, you know, that scene with Vader, and the space battle's pretty good. I'll give it that. You know, it's just seeing Vader, he's just massacring a bunch of rebels with his lightsaber.
Yeah, and the only light in that scene comes from like a small window in the door and then his lightsaber.
Oh yeah, the lighting in that scene is wow.
Especially with Vader's introduction, because you don't see anything but you hear him breathing, and then you see the red lightsaber like slowly turn on.
It's a very intense, almost out of place scene.
I know.
They probably could have cut it and it wouldn't have affected the plot at all. But I'm so glad it's in the film. Because that was the best part. Yeah, and seeing that in the theater was pretty cool.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, and it
was very good.
I especially like the part where he like uses the Force, he lifts one of them.
He just lifts it and throws him in the ceiling and then walks high.
Yeah, exactly. There were a few characters I found kind of interesting. I liked Donnie Yen's character, you know, but mostly just because he does martial arts, you know. And it's Donnie Yen. I mean, he's awesome. And some of the humor with him, you know, like, I'm blind, you know, and they put the...
See, I enjoyed him because...
bags over him, you know, and he was kind of interesting, I thought, because he's sort of like a blind monk, and he just beats up a bunch of stormtroopers with a stick, you know?
See, I like his character because he's one of the ones that is aware of the Force and can feel the Force, but he can't use the Force.
Yeah, he's the only one I felt of the main characters, like the main protagonist, that was... kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen we already mentioned. One of the better scenes of the film is when Jyn sees the hologram of Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
You know, and you could tell she's like very upset about, you know, because Mads Mikkelsen is her father, you know, and she didn't know if he was alive or not. I think she like thought he was dead or something because she thought the First Order probably killed him.
Or the Empire in this
and
one.
then, yeah, but that's a very good scene. Very well acted, I gotta say. I thought like the acting wasn't bad, but I just felt like and then the casting wasn't bad. I didn't think the casting was bad by any means. You know, I mean, you have Diane, you have Mads Mikkelsen. The guy that played Krennic I thought was good, but most of the main characters, I felt like they just don't show like much charisma or anything. They're just kind of like there.
Yeah, I
mean,
will admit the main characters are rather weak in this movie.
Yeah, especially Jin and Cassian.
Yeah.
I don't even remember though. The one guy with like the red thing and the gun that follows Donnie Yen around. I don't even remember his name. That was something I noticed. I left the theater. I couldn't remember a single name of any of the main characters.
Yeah, even now I remember Jin's name.
That's very, very bad.
I mean, they also made a bold choice by deciding to kill off every single one of the main characters. They kill off all the main
characters, yeah.
I mean, it's sequel proof, but
I guess, but I didn't really want a sequel. I do like K2SO, the robot.
He was pretty funny.
He was pretty funny, yeah. You know, he had like a sarcastic demeanor about him. I thought he was definitely in a movie so bereft of like humor. It was, you know, there was at least this character.
Do not struggle. You are being rescued.
Do not resist.
Do not resist. You're being rescued.
There's a problem on the horizon. There is no horizon. I don't remember the name of the actor that got to play him. He's a British actor. But I thought he was very good as K2SO.
Something else that I thought was good was how they showed the Death Star.
Oh yeah, the
multiple
stuff with the
angles
Death Star,
and not on full power.
The stuff with the Death Star is pretty good.
I thought Tarkin in this was very well done.
The CGI, there's a few shots.
There's a few shots where you can really tell. But when I first went to see it, it took me a while to realize.
But it was I thought the CGI was, for the most part, well done.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was a bit weird seeing Peter Cushing again, you know, after he'd been dead for so long.
Does this mean we can get a CG Frankenstein film?
Get David Prowse to play the monster. Maybe bring Christopher Lee back from the dead through CGI and do a Dracula film with him and Peter
Those
Cushing.
could be fun.
Tarkin, I can understand why they would feel the need to create a CGI model of his face and, you know, bring him back to life. Princess Leia, not so much, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But and I thought the CGI on Tarkin was a lot better.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Tarkin CGI was remarkably well done.
Yeah. Because this is only like, you know, that was 2016 when that one came out, so, you know, like, you can tell, like, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
It's like 15 years ago, that probably would have been, it wouldn't have been impossible, but it would have looked very goofy.
Yeah,
it would have looked like one of those, like, it would have looked like a Sega game or something, probably.
It would not
from the
have
90s. Which, that does bring, you know, special effects, I think, are good.
Yeah.
The shots of the Death Star, I think the probably my favorite shot of the film is that shot when you first see the Death Star, and there's, like, ships going by. There's, like, a big shadow over it.
See,
it looks very cool.
I love the shot where you see it slowly rising above the planet right there. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, and one scene I do really like, there are some good scenes. I will give it that. Yeah. I do really like the part where the Death Star blows up that one planet.
Yeah.
But, you know, before that, you hadn't really seen in detail, like, the destruction of a planet by the Death Star.
Yeah, all you really saw was the laser and then the planet exploded.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and you get to see it and it just shows how far special effects have come since 1977. I'll give it credit. I mean, they did try to do something different, I guess, you know.
It was interesting having no Jedi as a main character for a Star Wars
maybe
film.
That's why I didn't like it.
Because the only lightsaber you see is at the very end.
Because I was always more interested in the conflict between the Jedi and the Sith rather than the Rebels and the Empire, you know. As a kid, you know, I didn't care about Tarkin. I didn't care about Mon Mothma.
Yeah, Mon Mothma.
Or Rogue Leader or whatever their names are. But, I want it, and yeah, there's only one lightsaber, and it's Vader's.
It's quite possibly the best scene in the whole movie.
He's the only person you see in the movie that's a Sith, or a Jedi. I will say probably the best scenes of the movie. I do like some of the scenes with Tarkin and Krennic, like how. I especially like how Krennic spends all of this time building the Death Star only for Tarkin to take all the credit for it.
And he even yells about it. He's like, "This is my achievement, not yours."
Yes, yeah. This is my achievement, not yours.
And then he goes to Darth Vader and he's like, "I'm in control, right?" And then gets choked.
There's interesting ideas in it, but I felt they weren't explored to their full potential.
Yeah.
Especially the stuff with Saw Gerrera. Because he's
he's
part of the rebellion, but he's an extremist.
I feel like more of him would have been awesome.
I would have liked to have seen more of that, instead of 2 scenes.
Yeah.
And he's mentioned a few times. And Forrest Whitaker, for some reason, has asthma or something. Like, he keeps putting on that breathing device.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I do like the scene where Saw and Jin meet again for the first time, because they hadn't, seen each other in a while. And Jin, because it's interesting, because she's talking to, some of the rebellion leaders, and she doesn't know that he's considered a radical. He's considered an extremist. He uses extreme methods. Until she's, with them, and she's just like, no, not that guy, And then she sees him for the first time. It's a very emotional scene, between them. I actually do like the music score for this. That is one criticism people have, because they didn't get John Williams back. They got Michael Giacchino, I think was his name. He did.
Italian.
I think he did the music for some of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek films, if I remember right. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong on that.
But I thought there's nothing that really memorable to me, but I didn't hate any of the music.
I thought it was a decent music score. There were a few times though where they were trying to make it sound like this jolly space epic that didn't fit with the tone. But negatives. The action scenes, most of them I find pretty forgettable. Other than Vader and the Donnie Yen stuff and parts of the space battle at the end, I don't remember most of it. Action scenes. That's something I noticed. It is a very forgettable movie.
There aren't a whole lot of action scenes throughout the movie, though. They're mostly in the last act.
I guess that's true, yeah. Which that's probably another problem I have with it. It's a very dull movie. It takes a long time to get going. It's not until maybe the middle of the film.
Yeah, once she sees the hologram of her father,
have some interesting stuff. Because before that, it is so dull and boring. Which is probably my main criticism of the film. It is a very boring movie. And mostly because the characters, I just don't find the main characters interesting.
Yeah.
They're very boring.
The Leia CGI.
That was the Leia CGI. Okay, 2 things. 1, it was pointless. 2, CGI. Oh my god.
They did not. You could tell they did not spend nearly as much time on that as they did with the Tarkin.
Probably just Tarkin's in more scenes. So
it was so bad. The first time I saw it, I was like, "Ew, gross."
It's weird because it wasn't until I saw it when we rented it that I noticed some of the flaws in the CGI. Because when I saw it in the theater,
it looks a bit thin.
When I saw it in the theater, I thought it looked pretty good actually.
I didn't. I saw it and it looked thin.
I felt it was a bit jarring seeing a young Carrie Fisher and Tarkin, but other than that, I thought the CGI itself was fine. But rewatching it on a TV or a computer, there's some shots that look very bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because of the quality of the or maybe just because the room's dark or something. I don't know, but it just
It was very bad CGI for that scene.
The main characters for me, just like, they really need, for one thing, they need to flesh them out a bit, but they needed to add, like, more differing personalities, maybe.
Yeah.
They all kind of act the same. Like, just maybe have one of them be like, maybe have the pilot guy be a joker or something, and have the one guy that follows Diana around be a more serious, quiet guy. Maybe, I don't know, just... Jin does get a few scenes where her character is kind of interesting, has some emotion.
But that's usually in the
that,
scenes where Mads Mikkelsen is around.
It's very spread out, and there's not very much of it. The pacing is just very, very dull.
It is pretty slow until you get to
the first 2/3 of it are very boring. I think most people probably just remember the movie just because of that last third.
Yeah.
Because admittedly, the last third of it is pretty exciting. I'll give it that. I think the space battle is good. I do like the one part where I don't know if it was Admiral Akbar, but it was a guy that looked like him.
Oh,
He
yeah.
says, "May the Force be with you."
Yeah.
And then there's this shot of them on the beach and the planet exploding and stuff. It was, it was a pretty well done ending, I thought. Another one of my huge issues. The lighting. It looks, every shot just is so gray and oh my god.
Yeah.
That's also a problem I have with the next spin-off. But more so in this one, It's it's not there's some shots that are very beautiful, but then there's tons of shots that you just are like, oh my gosh, I can't stand looking at this.
Thinking back, this one definitely did not have the same cinematography as
and the
Force
editing.
Awakens.
The editing is it's basically edited and shot like it's just a modern day action movie. Basically, it doesn't really, aside from the callbacks, it doesn't really feel like a Star Wars film, which is probably another one of my huge issues when I saw it, because I want to see a Star Wars film, not a space army movie or whatever.
Yeah.
Which if I want to see that, I'll just watch Aliens. Better characters for one thing. There's just the Easter eggs in this, it's almost Die Another Day level at some points. I get it, it's a Star Wars film, but why do you need this 2-second C-3PO and R2-D2 cameo?
I forgot that they were even in the movie.
Oh my gosh. Why do you need Princess Leia in it? Why just all these fan callbacks, just so you can have somebody in the audience just pointing at the screen going, I remember that. The You Will Be Dead guy shows up at one point.
That's right.
On the planet. Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
So how did he get out of the city before the whole place blew up?
I don't know, but he just bumps into it. Plus, isn't he wanted in 12 systems?
Yeah.
Or is this before that? Because it's
well, he must have made the rounds really fast.
It's only a little bit before.
It's right before the movie.
Right before the
the ending scene
movie.
leads into the beginning of episode 4.
I mentioned the CGI Leia. It looked very plasticky. And another problem, the best characters in the movie don't get enough to do.
Yeah.
You have Vader. Doesn't show up until halfway into the movie and has 3 scenes, I think. Or just 2.
You know something?
I think 2 scenes. I think he only has 2 scenes.
You know what I just realized?
The villains in this don't really do a whole lot aside from look around at the Death Star and then blow up one planet.
Yeah. Vader, he has some weird priest dude come get him out of the back to tank he's in. Do you remember that?
I do remember him being in the tank, but I don't remember what the guy looked like.
Well, he was an old dude that was just in black robes.
Wouldn't surprise
I don't
me.
remember what that was
Yeah,
about.
And that's another thing. Vader doesn't get enough screen time. He has 2 scenes. I know he doesn't get, like, the most amount of screen time in the original films, but come on.
And was it just me, or did James Earl Jones' voice sound a bit shaky? He was talking.
I mean, he was, like, in his 80s.
Yeah.
When he filmed this movie, you know. So, yeah, his voice did sound a bit different, you know, I will say. But, you know, age isn't always kind to everybody. Yeah. And also, there's shaky cam in this, too, and I can't stand shaky cam. Like, just... Especially during, like, some of the ground battles, too. Like,
it makes it a bit disorienting.
It's... Oh, my gosh. But, yeah, I just remember, like, leaving the theater being very non-enthused about the next one. And, yeah.
I think at this point they had already announced that the next one was a solo movie. So I think I was... I think I was still pretty excited for the next spinoff.
Even then, though, I don't remember hearing a ton about the solo movie, but we'll get to that. So, yeah, Rogue One, as you can tell, I'm not a huge fan of it, but...
I still... For all its faults, I still really enjoyed the good parts enough that I love this movie still.
After rethinking it, though... I think if you did, like, a decent fan edit of it, I could watch it. You know, like, maybe cut it down to, like, 90 minutes of the, you know, best scenes. Maybe add, like, if you delete scenes, add a bit more character development or something, but, you know, maybe I would enjoy it, but I don't know, it's just, there's... It might be my least favorite, but we'll have to talk about the next one before I decide that. I have a lot to say about the next one.
Oh boy, the next one.
So, Rogue One was nominated for 2 Oscars, Best Visual Effects and Best Sound Mixing, which, yeah, I can understand.
Yeah.
You know, even though the CGI on Tarkin Leia, you know, not the greatest, but they tried. They tried.
See, I actually think that the Tarkin one was really good.
There's
only a few points where I think that it looks like a video game. Whereas the Leia one just looks bad.
I felt it looked more like a wax dummy face of Tarkin at some points, but you know. In the first draft of the screenplay, Jin and Cassian survived the events of the film, despite director Gareth Edwards wanting all the heroes to die. After speaking with Kathleen Kennedy and executives at Disney, he expressed his opinion, and to his surprise, Kennedy agreed and gave him permission to kill off the characters. Oh, this is another thing. Nearly none of the footage and dialogue in Rogue One's original reveal trailer made it into the final theatrical cut.
Really?
Did you notice that?
I did not notice that.
There are a ton of shots that are not in the movie.
Huh.
A ton of them. And it is theorized this was caused by the film's extensive reshoots, which that's another thing. They, like, reshot a lot of the movie. Like,
I'd kind of like to see one with a bunch of the old
and the director said if they did, like, an extended cut, it would be basically a completely different movie.
Huh.
Because they had, like, all these different ideas and stuff. They were, like, rewriting, refilming stuff. It's just, you know, it's a mess. They really didn't plan it out very well, which kind of shows when you watch it. Wasn't as much of a production nightmare as, say, Alien 3, but, you know,